Supabase has been making waves lately as a full-featured open-source backend solution with built-in authentication, a Postgres database, and a tempting free tier. Intrigued, I built a school club catalog app using Supabase and React. It was not the greatest experience. Today, I'll break down why I think traditional backends are still superior and where Supabase stumbled. I'll talk about my personal experience developing and deploying with Supabase, and when you should be using it in your own apps. On paper, Supabase seems fantastic. You get a Postgres database, row-level security, and a built-in login system, all wrapped up with a simple API. Supabase takes care of authenticating and validating all requests, which makes API calls very simple. The problem lies in maintaining your database. To create your database, you use the Supabase web interface. There, you can either enter SQL commands into their editor, or you can use their UI editor to create and manage your tables. You can do this really fast, but forget about collaborating or working with anyone in the future. Migrating and version controlling your database is an absolute nightmare. There are no guides to structured development with Supabase, so most of the time, you just have to wing it. What I had to do was I had to create a master GitHub repo of all my SQL commands, which was just a pain to manage and write docs on. Another feature I had a problem with was row-level security, which is just configuring permissions for your SQL table. For example, you might have a policy where only site admins can make API requests that manage user data. In small projects, it's great, because you don't need to worry about backend validation or authentication. But when you add custom permissions and backend routes, it gets confusing quickly. Let's say you were making a meeting scheduling app and you needed to create a way to let the user insert a meeting into the meetings table. You might have row-level security to check if the user signed in, but realistically, you would need an API route to take care of other functionality such as emailing the user and more complicated meeting validation logic. So now you have to split up your backend into row-level security and edge functions, which makes it difficult to keep track of backend logic. To top that off, Supabase edge functions use the Deno runtime instead of Node.js. This was a problem for me because I ran into compatibility issues with my NPM libraries. For example, you can't use Google APIs with Deno, and for other libraries you have to find Deno equivalents, or else your app crashes in production. Honestly, edge functions weren't that bad, but I find myself needing them a lot. And at that point, I would have just rather written a traditional backend. I self-hosted Supabase because I'm a different breed. Even though they claim they're open source, there's almost no documentation for doing things yourself. So I ended up having to read through GitHub issues to find the answer to my questions, and configuring the Docker Compose file was just a bunch of guesswork. When it came to deployment, it wasn't much better. For example, I couldn't send API requests to my mail server because Supabase edge functions did not let me send requests to some ports. I know this because I successfully ran email scripts on the same DigitalOcean droplet, but those scripts didn't work in my edge functions. With not much Deno support for existing libraries, incompatibility with NPM packages, and very little community support when it comes to self-hosting, I had to spend hours finding workarounds myself. So if you're thinking about self-hosting Supabase, it isn't easy. The only convenient solution is to pay into one of their subscriptions. I'll be honest, Supabase isn't the worst solution. For serious projects, I would just use it as a free database connected to an ORM, but I would skip out on the backend as a service part of it. There's just too many limitations. Where it really shines though, is small projects and hackathons. If you're sure that you're not going to work on your app for more than 3 months, or that your app won't have extensive features besides reading and writing from a database, Supabase is actually really good, and you can pump out features extremely fast. Personally, I would just keep it at that. If you want to learn what I would use for an actual project, hit that subscribe button. I'll be posting more videos soon. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.